So hello everyone, good afternoon. How's it all going? It's a bit tiring day. I hope you still have a bit of energy left. My friend Bert Boeland just came in, and the guy who's always full of energy even looks a bit tired. So I'll try to keep it as short as possible, and we can all go out and have a drink and end the day together. So my name is Baris Wanschers. I'm the chair of the Dutch Drupal Foundation, Stichting Drupal Nederland. I co-own Limoen Groen. And Limoen Groen is an Amsterdam-based Drupal expert agency with a strong focus on building websites that last and that can be used by everyone regardless device or disability. And we work for large museums, governments, ministries, but also for several commercial clients. My session today is about schema.org, what it is, why am I so excited, how can you put it to use, and how you can use it in a Drupal website as well. I would like to see some hands. Who of you has already been using schema.org? Great. And how many of you are using Drupal as a CMS? That's about, wow, that's a lot. Cool. Okay, cool. So, disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I know some stuff about schema.org. I'm super excited, but there will probably be people in the room with more knowledge of the subject than I have. So please, during the questions at the end, fill me in. If I don't have an answer to a question which you have, please stand up and let's help each other and just share some knowledge. Okay, so according to the website, schema.org, it's a collaborative community activity. It's a schema for structured data. And it's a way to share data using vocabularies. Better said, it is a collection of vocabularies and properties. And it's a really useful way to add meaning to content on your website. I have a lot of examples which will make sense once you see them. They come in 3 formats that you can use them to implement it. And I'll come back to that later. Oh, I have to press next. So there's microdata, RDFA, and JSON-LD. And it is a system of inheritance. So you can see on the website that every object that you try to describe starts as a thing. For example, if you want to describe a car, a type of a car, well, a car is a vehicle is a product, and a product is a thing. And you inherit all the properties. So to give you an example of that, if we look at a sports event, which is a thing that you can describe, it inherits stuff from the parent event, like door time, start date, end date. But a sports event has also specific properties for an away team or a home team or competitors. So let's see how we can put this to use in our search results, because that's what my presentation is about. How you can use schema.org to get better search results on Google. So suppose we are in Ghent. Ghent is very vegetarian friendly, which I'm happy about. I'm a vegetarian. So if I search for a veggie burger recipe, the good old search result is the first one above. You get a title, you get a URL and a small description. And the second one is filled with schema.org information. So you can see, for example, ratings, votes, how long it takes to prepare this burger, the amount of calories. There is even an image. And if you go to that URL, you will see there's a lot of more schema.org information that is not shown in the teaser, but Google scrapes that information as well. For example, all the full cooking instructions, the list of ingredients, a lot more information, how many people the recipe is for. So it serves 4 people in this case. And it's used for recipes, but it's used for other information as well. For example, events. So if I Google events in Ghent, it will show me a list of upcoming events. And then when I click an event, for example, let's search for the Simple Plan event, which is, so then I click on it, and it will, it's a little bit cutting off my slides, but that's okay. So it's in the Vooruit event location. You can see the source with where the arrow is, that Google fetched the information from the Simple Plan website, which contains schema.org information, so it knows where the location is, what the start time of the event is, and then it also shows some Wikipedia information as well, which is nice. And then last week, Google announced even a new way to show information. I just showed you some rich snippets. Google now is implementing a new way to present data, which is called rich cards, which is the right one. And that's a way to implement better mobile experiences. So, for example, for recipes, you can now on a mobile phone, you can swipe like it's a slideshow. At the moment, it's only being used in English websites for recipes and movies, but Google will implement it more and more also for other languages and other types. So at the moment, Google supports recipes, events, like this. We have products. There's persons. So if you Google Brian House, for example, you can already see he's the vice president of global accounts at Acquia. Then there's reviews for book reviews before, by example. I mix Dutch and English a lot. So. Okay, so this is what Google is already using from schema.org. They have a nice tool to test your HTML. So if you are working on implementing schema.org, you will go to this URL and you can either paste a URL and Google fetches the HTML and shows the results, or you can paste in full HTML if you are developing on a local environment. So let's show you how it works. Takes a while, but then it fetches the URL or the HTML, and on the left side you can see the HTML. On the right side you will see that it found a recipe, and in this case 5 breadcrumb items, because you can also tell Google how your breadcrumb is built up. And then if you click on one of these properties on the right, it will bring you to the place in the HTML where it is printed. So what we can see here, we have a section wrapper which has an item scope of the type recipe, and all properties within that wrapper element are shown on the right as well. So like the name and the recipe yield and the list of ingredients. So you can see there's an image tag, and it has an item property of image. And this is useful if you have like several images on this website or this page, and you want this image to be used in the teaser. So here as well, there is an H1 that has a property of name. In this case, H1 is very semantic, which is good, but you can also use this on a div element, for example, to tell Google what this is the name of the element. So you see a lot of more information. There's ingredients, and there's even ratings and recipe instructions. You can add videos. And so on and so on. So a lot of information. So let's go on and see how we can bring this to use in your own website. There's basically like 3 ways to implement this. The first one, and which is the easiest one, is the Google Search Console. That's like a point-and-click interface from Google. You don't have to change your HTML. You don't have to do anything with the markup. You can just use the interface from Google. Then there is a way that you have to change your markup and add attributes to your HTML, just like you saw before, which can be done using RDFA or microdata. Or there is a third way, which is called JSON-LD, and it's basically a JSON array that you put in your HTML in your head location. So Search Console is basically what was called previously the Google Webmaster Tools. Not a movie. This is Monumenten.nl. It's a website that we've built that lists all state monuments in the Netherlands. And here I've added some schema.org information to describe Google. Well, this is a governmental building, and this is a news item. And so on this tab, the structured data tab, you can see all the structured data that Google has fetched so far. A few of them have been added by Drupal core if you enable the RDF module, such as item, document, and image. But some of the other items, the breadcrumb list, the news article, local business, have been added using Schema Markup. So, and you can click each item. You can see, for example, news article already has 360 items indexed. When I click the news article, it will show me the full list of all the entities that it has found. And then you can click each property as well to see what Google has indexed. Yeah. So you can see when it's detected for the last time. Also, if a news item has errors, for example, the page doesn't have a name attribute or whatever, which is a required one, it will show you an error as well. So you can use this interface to check your markup now and then, or your results. So you see all the information, you can see an author, you can see description, even the headline. A headline is a property which only applies to articles and not for products, for example. You have specific attributes that you can use, such as word count, a publisher if it's an external organization. You can add a logo for the publisher, etc., etc. And then there is also a button to test the live data, which is the environment that you've seen before. So you can check this URL, how the data is today at the moment, not when it was scraped. Okay. So using this interface on the left side, there's a third tab called the data highlighter, and this is a tool that you can use to click and point your website and to explain Google how it should learn your data values. So, for example, if I paste in the URL of a news article on the website, I can say, well, what I would like to do now, Google, is to create news articles. Google doesn't have an attribute for news articles. It has one for articles, so I choose that one. And then when I click article, when I was rehearsing, I was a bit slower, I guess. So I point at the article, and then I have to tell Google, well, this is a single note that I want to explain, or this is a listing of content. So you would choose the second one if you have a list of news articles and you just want to index that one page. But in this case, I take the first one, and I will tell Google a few news articles. So it now loads the first page. This is a news article, and then I can start trying to map all the fields on the right side with the content on the left. And I have to do that for, in this case, 5 news articles. And Google will use that information to learn the structure of the HTML. So you will see how that works. I can just click on the title and say, well, Google, this is the title for my article. And it's been shown on the right. And then you keep on going and do that for the image. You can do that for, you can see there's an author field, there's a date published. Some of these fields can be found in the HTML. In this case, there's a date field, which is displayed in Dutch. And that's already a thing that's worrying with this interface. Google is kind of smart, but you can imagine if I have a date like the 2nd Tuesday of March, Google cannot understand what that means. And if you have the ability to change the HTML, you can communicate like a real date value instead of what the end user sees. So I keep on clicking on all the items. There's a date, there is a source. There is, in this case, this is like shortcuts with other information on the website, but for the sake of the demo, I say, well, this is a category. Usually you use the category for tags or news type in this case. So, okay, all done. We don't have ratings on this page, so let's go on. Now it shows me a page with, in this case, 140 news articles. I say, well, in this URL pattern, news/star, I can find these articles. Is this correct? If not, you can change the URL pattern and you can give it a name. So let's call it news articles. Now we're creating a page set. So now Google will ask me for 4 other examples just to learn the HTML. Because in some cases it might be possible that the news article doesn't have an image, for example, or doesn't have an author. And then Google will get confused for the next item. So you see it already mapped a lot of these items. This is the example. Oh, well, it looks good. So the second news article is kind of similar to the first one, so Google really understands it, and I don't have to change anything here. So let's go on with the third. This one has a slightly different markup because we don't have, there's like 2 categories on this page. So the image is correct, the date is correct, the source is correct. But since you want to have 2 categories, it only fetches the first one. And basically Google just sees, oh, there is a UL with that class name. And I have to fetch the first list item, content, whatever. So I'm not telling Google, no, you have to take the second as well. I have to do it twice. So and now it understands, okay, so basically you have to use all the list items within that list. So we're going with the third. The fourth one is an overview page. This is, you can see the URL news/61, which is strange. It matches the URL pattern that we just explained, For this page, I don't want it, so I can just click on the remove page. We skip this one, and we get to show a new another news item. So same story. We don't have categories on this one. So what Google now does, it fetches the first link within that area, which is the LinkedIn button. And I don't want that, so I remove that one. So you see, it's kind of a bit of fiddling with the HTML. But once you get the grasp of this, usually after 5 or 6 items, Google understands how it works. You can see it now. It is correct. Kind of. Yeah. So click the finish button. Oh. Yep. Okay. Now, in some cases, you have to do like 10 pages or 15 pages before Google understands what you're trying to communicate. But in this case, 5 was enough, and now it shows me one page to check some other items as well. Now, it all looks good. Yep, very good. No categories. And I have to publish it, and this is basically how you can tell Google, well, this is my article, and this is all the information. And it uses this one as well for showing the snippets on the results. So it takes usually a day or 5, 6, maybe a week, and then they will show up on the structured data interface. All right, so we are front-enders, most of you. We can change HTML, so let's have a look at how RDFA or microdata can be used. Because the great thing about this is that you can also communicate data to Google, which is not visible on screen, such as maybe for an event. You can imagine there is a field that describes, well, the event starts at 8, but at 7 the doors open already. And maybe you don't have both times on the website, only the door opening times. So the first image is RDFA, the second image is microdata. They're really similar to each other. It's just another way of writing down the attributes and the properties. On the first image, you can see there is a vocabulary, schema.org, and there is a type of event. And by doing so, you define a wrapper. All the properties, all the fields within that wrapper belong to, in this case, the event. So the start date and the name and the location all are part of this event. Location itself is another wrapper, so like kind of a subtype. In this case, a type of place. So the name, which is being used twice here, the first name belongs to the event. The second name belongs to the place, in this case, the location. So the high dive is the name of the location. And then for microdata, it's basically the same. You say, well, this is the item scope, which is of the type event. And then for each property, you say, well, this is an item property. RDFA is the one that's being used in Drupal 7 and 8. And the schema.org module, which I will show in a minute, uses the same markup as RDFA. And here you can also add information which is not visible. Usually that's been done using a meta element. For example, the status of an event, like it's scheduled or it's sold out or it's not scheduled. Those are all statuses, and you can go to schema.org/event status to see all the properties, all the options. In this case, this is information which is not visible on screen, but can be communicated like this. This part can be tricky in Drupal. For example, if you use display suite in the expert mode, which we usually do, it's very hard to add information which is not visible. So you have to fiddle with custom code to get it in. Yep. So this is a kind of a drawback. If you use TPL files or Twig files, it's a bit easier, but still this can be hard in Drupal. So that's why I prefer JSON-LD. And JSON-LD, since a month or so, at the moment, it's strongly recommended by Google. So if you go to Google documentation about schema markup, it will show you that the JSON-LD is at the moment strongly recommended. Okay, so this is a JSON-LD example. It's basically nothing more than just an array with information in a JSON output. This can be put in the body tag, this can be put in the head tag. I usually choose the head tag. And the good thing about this is that you don't have to change anything of your current existing markup if you want to add it to an existing website. I use custom code. If we have time left, I can show you an example of how I do this. But it's quite easy to add this to existing websites. in a later phase without having to worry about changing CSS or that changing the markup breaks the CSS or the styles. So if you want to implement this in Drupal, then you could use, for Drupal 7, you could use the Schema org module. This is the author of the module. It's a French name, and I'm really worse at French, but Stéphane Colosquet, also known as Core. He has been working hard to make Drupal more semantic, and he's the maintainer of RDF module in Core for Drupal 7, Drupal 8. Is currently a member of the security team. I met him at DrupalCon Barcelona, and we sat together to discuss the Schema module and what we could do to improve it. So if you want to use it in Drupal 7, use the Schema org module. This one relies on Drupal core RDF module, and it will basically show you an interface like this. So if you create a content type or node type, you will get an extra vertical tab where you can select the Schema org type. In this case, it's a news article. It's very simple. And then for each field that you add to this node type, you can define the property mapping as well. So for a body, you would choose description. For an image, you would choose image, etc. Drupal 8 is kind of similar, but you use another module. It's called RDF UI. Also relies on the RDF module in core. It will show you kind of the same interface. Also a vertical tab with all the available types. And then you have to map your fields and properties as well. Small change that you don't map the properties per field, but you do it at once using the RDF mappings tab. And then you can set all the properties or map all the properties. So it's like 2 minutes work, and when it's enabled, it basically outputs all the correct information. So you can see it here, for example. This is a Schema news article. Let's zoom in a bit. So you can see, for example, on the first arrow, there's a Schema news article. Then we can see the span with the schema name. We have a sub item, which is of type person, for, in this case, the author of the article. There's a description, there's an image. So a lot of information just by pointing and clicking. The RDF UI module in 8 comes with a submodule, which is optional. It's called the RDF UI Builder. This is even cooler, because what you can do here is you can just create a complete schema or content type at once. So, for example, if you press this button, you say, well, I want to create, well, for example, a person or an event, or in this case, a product. And when you press next, you get an overview of all the available fields of the schema org product type. So there's a checkbox on the left side. You can just check all the fields that you want to add. So let's see what's useful. Let's have a description. Let's have maybe the image. And so just you go on and you check all the fields that you want. And I think I'm adding the SKU as well. Yep. All right. And once you have done this, you can set all the, I think it's still loading. Yeah. Okay. So, and then you can, for here as well, you go to the RDF mapping, so you don't have to set all the properties, which has already been done. I think the only drawback here is you can see the name of the content type is WXB. Also the field names, it's kind of weird. At the moment, the module just chooses a random name for your node type and all the field names. Which I think is a bug, but anyway, I'm a purist. Maybe not all of you are. It works anyway. So I just have my product now. I can enter content, and when I save and publish, we can see that all the RDF information is available in the output. I'm going to skip that. So to sum it all up, Schema org is the way to influence Google search snippets. It's really a way also to gain more visitors to your website. You can imagine that if you can be found on events in Ghent in a nice interface, that more people will go to the website to visit the Simple Plan event, for example. It's a way to add meaning to content and not only communicate a date on your website or a name tag or whatnot, but to tell Google that's not just a date, but it is the start date of the event or the end date. Or so I'm not saying you should not use semantic markup. You should, but you have to. You can add schema org to even make Google understand more of the website. So they can use RDFE microdata or JSON-LD, and Google recommends JSON-LD at the moment. Use the testing tool, which works very easy. I use it a lot for custom development, and I just paste in my HTML. So there's Drupal 7, Drupal 8. Yeah, I think we're basically done. I'm always talking too fast, so I think we already. Well, time for beer or questions. Yeah, so this is it. If you have questions about the subject, ping me on Twitter, ping me on Drupal.org, send me an email, or just come by for a coffee and I'll explain you more. Any questions? Any stuff that I forgot that you want to add on?
What is the difference between the schema org module and meta tag module that you have on also?
The question is, what is the difference between the meta tag module and the schema.org module? The meta tag module adds information purely in meta tags. So basically you use them both. With schema.org you tell Google, well, this is a start date field, but a start date is not a field that you would use for the meta tags module. So basically for meta tags, it's really useful if you want to influence your Twitter teasers, your Facebook teasers, your Google teasers as well. But it doesn't really add meaning to it's more describing how the search result looks, but you have to use them both. Yeah.
Let's say you have a site which is not in the top 5 in Google. Will it still be displayed with an image and with the extra information it gets from schema?
So the question is, will results that are not really high in the search results also use the information and the display that you see? Yeah, the answer is yes. It will use it for all the content that it can find. It takes a few days or some weeks before Google understands the markup and fetches the markup. Some information, like a news article, is not always picked up. It's my experience. I have a few websites that use news articles, and some are displayed on the news part of Google News. Some are not. And I haven't figured out why that is, or did I just have to wait longer? I don't know. But if I use, for example, events, it doesn't matter if it's a popular event or one of the less popular events. It will all use the same interface. In the back.
Does Google rank pages that use this markup higher than those that don't, or is it only for the presentation there and they Google greater to make your searches look better?
Yeah, I believe that no one exactly knows how Google works, but my experience is it doesn't really matter. It still keeps the same. You don't get higher in the results, but you stand out way more, and that's a difference. So even if you are fourth with a nice image and an explanation, and the tree above you don't have that image, it will attract visitors to your teaser instead of the one above.
Just another one. Is there any worry or fear that we put all this time and effort to make beautiful web experiences for our clients and our users, and then Google takes this lovely data we have and just uses it itself, and people don't want this in our website anymore? So I want to look at something that came up, and I've never heard of them before, and I see Wikipedia blur on the site.
Yeah.
I asked them about that now. Wikipedia doesn't get, I don't visit Wikipedia, and I don't see the link saying, please donate to us, we need some money.
Yeah. So should we help Google to understand our websites this good? Because once they do, might not even need our website anymore, right? Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question. There's a lot of debate going on Google scraping all the news websites and publishing the content in their own app, so you don't even have to visit the news website anymore. So they don't get advertisements anymore, and they might stop existing. I don't know. So I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. Maybe someone else has. I'd love to have a discussion with you. So I'm not the expert.
My general view on that is that Google isn't necessarily using it to make our websites. They don't care about us in any meaningful sense. They care about their own products, and what they're doing is basically trying to become the internet. And what we're basically doing is providing a JSON rather than building a website. And arguably, we could stop building websites and just
Yeah.
Google is written by Google.
Yeah, it's a really interesting point. Well, since if the website stops existing, Google cannot fetch the JSON as well, or the schema.org information as well. But yeah, as far as I can see, it's just a way to, at the moment, attract more visitors to the website. And I have no idea what it will bring in the future, but we'll see.
Does tend to be bigger than Google because their main use case is always
Sure, yeah.
Does it mean Google? Is it bigger than?
Yeah, it is way bigger. It's a community initiative, and a lot of search engines use this. But since basically everyone uses Google, I used Google in my demo. But other search engines and other apps can also read the JSON. For example, if you paste, I'm not sure if who of you use Slack, but if I paste a URL in Slack which contains metadata, then it will already show me the start time of an event. If you, for example, paste the URL of the meetup website, then it will show you, based on the schema.org information on the page, the start time and the capacity and whatnot, all this kind of information in a nice way below the URL and the teaser text. So apps can use it as well.
So you can profit from it as well within your own apps.
It's bigger than Google, yes. Yeah. More questions? If we have time left, if you are interested, I can show you a bit how I communicate, how I expose my JSON information using a custom module. I'm happy to share. Just ping me on Twitter or whatnot, and I send you an example module. So basically, I'm afraid some front-enders might have no clue what this is about. It's fine. I'm half front-end, half back-ender. So probably not the best code, but it works. This is I'm using hook entity view, and I check am I on a full node, and then I'm building up an array of JSON. And I'm using an alter function, so other modules can jump in and output the data as well. Then I cache the information so that on the second page request I don't have to do all the calculations again. Let's scroll a bit down. I'm adding more information than what I just explained. I'm also adding a breadcrumb path. So I tell Google what breadcrumb is set up like this, and these are the URLs to each item within the breadcrumb. I also tell Google this is my search box. My search results can be found on this URL, which is called a potential search action. And Google is using this information to display a search box under the name of your website on your homepage. So you can basically search the content of your website using a search box on right from the Google search results. If you go to Google Schema, this is one of the examples that they give. They've like the breadcrumbs and the search box, and then the schema.org information for like events and news articles. So you have to tell Google, well, this is the attribute for my search box, where the name has the search value, and the URL where you have to put the value from that box. Well, that's search, question mark, search terms is search. And then I can start filling this array with, this is the breadcrumb. It's of type breadcrumb list, and for each list item and item list element, I'll paste in some information. So in this case, I use a lot of entity metadata wrapper helper functions. This is a full event, and then I will add some information about the description, which I'm using the body for. I'll do some time zone conversion stuff. And then I have some basic information like name and URL, and the description and the start date. In this case, we have a subtitle. Events don't have a subtitle field in schema.org, so I just append it to the title. I add some information if the event is cancelled, so I'm using the event status. I do some very ugly string replaces and stuff to define the price of the event, because in this case, the client uses a free text field where they can enter like €8 per person or 4 to 8 euros. So I'm trying to extract a numeric value, a price value in this case. I'm also offering Google a button to the URL where the client can order tickets. Google at the moment doesn't really pick it up. I'm not sure why, but the idea is that you can, from the teaser, can directly book a ticket and go to the ticket shop. So in this case, the event is part of a super event type. In this case, a festival. So Google can also show you a listing of this festival has this and this event. So And then there's a lot more information. I'm doing this for news articles. I'm doing this for exhibitions. I'm even doing this for the FAQ overview. Schema also has a question type, and then you can see I'm using the body in this case as accepted answer below the page over here. So you tell Google, well, this is a question, this is the answer for that question. So this is basically how and this is, well, you have to figure this out once, and then for every client you can just tweak a little bit, and it works perfectly fine. Let me check if the internet works. When I Google Brakke Grond, which is an event website, it's oh, you don't see anything. I'm not sure if the internet works anyway. Where is my pointer? Oh, shit. Ah. No. This is horrible. There we go. But there's no internet connection. So. Anyway, if you Google Brakke Grond, you'll see a listing of all the events going on in that location. Brakke Grond is, by the way, a cultural event house in Amsterdam, which has Flemish events, so Flemish theater, Flemish exhibitions. Anyway. And it was the place of the first DrupalCon in the Netherlands, which was?
Second.
What, the second in Amsterdam?
Second in Netherlands.
The second DrupalCon ever, and the first one in the Netherlands, which is basically a funny story. When DrupalCon was in Amsterdam in 2015, we were looking for a location for a trivia night, and we went to the Brakke Grond location because we had the DrupalCon in that location like 2008, 2005, Bert, long ago. At the time, about 400 people, or even less, 300 people. And so we went there, so we're looking for a trivia night location, and we need a place for 450 people, and they were too small. So the trivia location now is even bigger than DrupalCon was at the time, which is fun. Basically, this is the end of my presentation, and if there are no further questions, I will suggest we go out and have a drink in the sun. So, good, thank you.